Hey, Service Advisor Nation. Thank you for tuning into another episode of the AutoFix Advisor Cast with your host, Michael Doherty. Hopefully, everyone's doing well, staying healthy, keeping happy, and keeping those bays full. So, today, wanted to talk about a topic. Actually, the this episode is going to be called The Sale Ain't the End, It's the Beginning. The sale ain't the end, it's the beginning. So I'm sure everybody's heard the saying, a satisfied customer is the best business strategy of all. Again, a satisfied customer is the best business strategy of all. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's be real. Getting a yes from a customer isn't considered a touchdown. It's just a kickoff. If you've already been thinking about your next call while that customer is still in your parking lot, we've got some work to do. So let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about, turning good service into great loyalty. So I think first and foremost, I think there's a good quote from Zig Ziglar, which is a motivational guy, motivational speaker. If you haven't heard of Zig, check his stuff out. It's kind of old, but it's still impactful. Every sale has five basic obstacles: no need, no money, no hurry, no desire, no trust. So let's break it down. We've already earned and established trust with the client, right? So now it's about growing that trust, growing that relationship. Kind of think about it as, every sale is basically kind of like a first date, and we don't want to ghost them after the sale goes well, right? So bringing up, for successful shops, kind of, using how are we using CRM tools and implementing checklists to build, long-term loyalty and their strategy behind that. But, I think really a quick tip, if I could, you know, especially after that client has picked up, not too long after that client has picked up their vehicle from you, you know, picking up that phone, picking up that phone and just saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, it's Michael from XYZ Automotive. Hey, I know you just left about an hour ago, or I know you just left a couple hours ago. You picked up the car a couple hours ago. I just wanted to make sure that you feel a difference in how the vehicle handles now after the suspension work that we did for you, right? I want to make sure that Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you can tell, especially when you're at that stoplight, there's no more vibration for you after we replace those engine mounts. I just want to make sure that you're happy. And oh, by the way, you're probably going to be getting a email from us in 48 hours for an online review. If you're happy with our service, if you could fill that out for us, we'd greatly appreciate it, right? But again, I think there's that missed personal connection, right? That I will call it need to not it shouldn't be a forced thing, right? Oh man, I got to call and I got to follow up. No, you should want to. Again, that person, that happy person, that satisfied customer is going to tell people about you, your shop, their experience with you. That is the best form of advertising that you can get. It really is. That compliment, that glowing 5-star Google review that people are going to see online when they come to your Google business profile for your shop, right? So again, I think it's often overlooked. Don't just rely on your point of sale system to send out the automated survey, right? Seriously, I mean, after that customer is picked up or before they leave the building, right? You do that handshake, you do that high five, you give them a hug, whatever it is that you do and thank them for their business. Like I said, depending on what they had done, not too long after that, especially if you've got time in the day, yeah, if they picked up at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, it's probably not going to work. I call them the next business day, but if they picked up anywhere between, I will call it 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. or even 2 p.m., you've still got time in the day just to give them a quick call or a text. And again, make it personal. I just want to let you again know we appreciate your business. We know you've got choices, but again, I just want to make sure that you feel a difference in how the car handles. Again, if you did suspension work, if you did engine mounts, right? Again, that vibration that you're feeling in a stoplight, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, it's not there anymore as I felt that it wasn't. Little things like that. Again, it goes a long way, right? It lets them know that you give a crap, and that's the important part. I think, especially these days, things are just too transactional, right? You know, it's going to cost this much. It's going to cost that much. They pick up, you know, you're kind of, I would just say it, not in a rush, but you're kind of in a rush, and you're just saying, oh, hey, what's going on, and you're reaching out for their method of payment, their form of payment, if they're paying with a card or if they're tapping with their phone, something like that on your Clover device or whatever you've got for a point of sale system. But again, it's too transactional. It's not the way to do it. They're not going to remember you for the transaction. They're going to remember you because of what you said, because of how you made them feel at that counter when they're picking up their vehicle, right? Be sure to carve out time, answer any questions that they might have. And, don't anticipate that they're not going to have any. I mean, ask them, hey, real quick before, you know, before you pay for your investment, because again, it's an investment that they're putting into their car, right? They're doing a repair, they're fixing something, they're doing a big ticket item. It's an investment. It's not just, you're paying us and, have a great day. Ask them if they have any questions. Carve out some time, you know, they may have some. Don't just skip to the transactional part. They know that they've got to pay you to get their car. That's obvious. Again, make it more personal, right? But again, the follow up portion. I know that your point of sale system likely has got an automated 24 hours later, 48 hours later, somewhere in there. But again, don't just rely on that. Yeah, tell them about that after you've made the personal call to them or text. Again, depending on how they prefer to be communicated with. But again, we have to do a better job of making it more, personal, fulfilling than transactional. And that's really, where I stand on that. We want to turn customers into advocates for us, right? I mean, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but never forget how you made them feel. That is a quote from Maya Angelou. Again, people will forget what you said, forget what you did, but never forget how you made them feel. So again, it's really important to consider those things. Consider that in particular. You know, when you're on that phone call with them when they're making the appointment, whether it's an existing customer, first time customer, 10th time customer, whatever. Again, people will forget what you said, forget what you did, but never forget how you made them feel. And that's really what it comes down to, right? I mean, customers who feel taken care of, 5-star review, referrals, loyalty, they're going to spread the good word about you, right? And it's okay to, I mean, you're going to get some customers that aren't happy, but also not being afraid to ask, hey, what could we have done better? Where did we fail you this time? If it's just not going the right way. I mean, don't backpedal. I mean, forward think, right? I mean, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I understand you had a bad experience this time around. What in particular made it a bad experience? We don't want to do that again as a company. How can we avoid that next time? Can you tell us some, some collective criticism? And again, don't take it personally, right? I mean, yeah, if somebody's in your face, yelling and screaming and pointing a finger, then yeah, there's a time to, you know, time out, get away from that, regroup, don't say something that you can't take back. But again, this is based on, I'm talking more about the positive side of it, right? Look for areas of improvement. And there's always something to improve. I mean, if you can think about it, if you can improve 1% better every day, at the end of the year, you're unbeatable, you're unstoppable, right? But again, there's always something to learn. And also, again, I've mentioned it before, but especially with the positive responses you get back from the clients, whether it's a Google review, you get off the phone with them, please, please, please share that information with the technician. Highly important, because the technician is the one who worked on the vehicle. Maybe the service advisor had a hand in it. I've been there before. Hey, can you can you hold this bolt while I take this hammer and smash the bolt? Hey, what you want to do? What? Let's find a better solution there, John. Let's do something different. I don't feel comfortable putting my hand there, but you know what I'm saying. Again, it's a team effort. But again, share that positive feedback from the client with the shop, the technicians. They need to hear the good stuff too, not just the bad stuff. Hey, this light came back on, or they picked up their car and this, the clock wasn't reset, or they, whatever it is. It's so easy to go back there and say this wasn't done right or that wasn't done right or what were you thinking or I don't know where your head was at. It's not the way to communicate with your coworkers, especially technicians, right? They're under enough stress to figure things out and do their job. So again, bring that positivity back there, all those positive things that the customers say, get them involved with that. And, I mean, it's okay to cut up with, customers too, after they've been around a couple of times, right? I think there's some, light humor, right? We can, excuse me, you got it a little bit today. Woo! Long day. I had to do a Google Doc. I'm doing a service advisor. I can't really talk about it right now, but I'm doing a service advisor thing for a company and had to write up a Google Doc tonight, and it took me about an hour and a half. So I'm a little winded, I'm a little tired, but you guys got me. You've got my attention. I've got your attention. We're good to go. Sorry to segue, but yeah, it's okay to cut up, inject a little humor, right? After you've gotten to know them a little bit, and maybe after you've gotten to know them a little bit, maybe it's not okay to inject a little humor. I mean, everybody's different, right? Kind of, know the people that you're dealing with. But again, right, I think really important. I can't say it enough, right? Having a satisfied customer is the best business strategy of all. And, again, the sale isn't the end, it's the beginning. It's where we start the relationship process. And just think about it like that. It really is, them saying yes to a large ticket item is fantastic. It gives you confidence as a service advisor. You're happy to go back there and share that with a technician. Hey, John, guess what? They want to do this engine job or they want to do all the, complete suspension refresh or whatever. I mean, it's exciting, right? You're helping them. Your company's making a couple bucks. You're offering a great warranty to your customer. Everybody wins, right? But again, the sale isn't the end, it's the beginning. And try and frame it like that in your mind, service advisors out there. But I appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the AutoFix Advisor Cast. And I look forward to talking with you again next week. Keep those bays full, stay healthy, take care of one another, and looking forward to seeing you guys soon, hopefully at some upcoming automotive events. And thank you again. All right. See you guys.